Here we are. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Hub Live, the last Hub Live for November 2020. I don't know how you feel, but I cannot believe that 2020 has just come and gone just like that, and it's almost December. Today we have a really cool guest, Mr. Kieran Moran, and he's going to teach us all about LinkedIn networks. How are you?
Good, Elise. Yourself?
I'm really, really well. Now, I have to first comment on the color of your shirt. So, I obviously, State of Origin was not too long ago. Are you a big supporter and a big fan?
Yes and no, but yes. It was funny. I was wearing this shirt, so this is the branding color of my business. But and I was wearing this shirt on State of Origin, the first one that we had a few weeks ago. People said, "Oh, same colours," but don't hold it against me. I'm actually originally a Victorian, Queensland now for 25 years, so almost a local maybe. But and really, I don't follow AFL, if anything. But for me, when we're sitting at home in front of the TV, it's the missus who says to me, do you mind if I change over and see the scores?
Oh, that's good. At least you have one supporter in your household. Now, I think 25 years makes you a local. Isn't 20 years the cutoff? I think that's what I was told.
From what I know, it's 25. Yeah.
Oh, it's 20. Oh, you're just inching over that local line right now. I have so many years to go. I'm only at 13. I've got years and years ahead of me.
96, I think. Started in Cairns. So made my way down here to Gladstone over the next 10 years, I think.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, over those years, you must have been very successful at building online and offline, first in 96, I'm guessing more offline networks, which is a little bit about, what we're going to talk about today. So tell us a little bit about your background and about how networks have helped you in your business over the years.
It's funny you should say that in relation to how it started and networks in a way. So originally, I'm actually a plumber by trade in Victoria. I haven't done that. The last time I touched any plumbing tools, it was actually Cairns. I actually did do that last in Cairns when I first arrived there in 95, 96. But what I found in Cairns was I had some friends who played music, and one of them was sitting there going, "Oh, we need a bass player." I said, "Oh, how do you find a bass player?" And they said, "Oh, just through the newspaper, putting it out in the newspaper." Ding, got the idea of starting a network. And that's probably how I got started doing networks. At that time, it was called the Cairns Songwriters and Musicians Network. It became the biggest music association in Australia. We had about 2,500 to 3,000 members within 6 months, and not just in Cairns. And the way that worked on a number of different levels, we gave, I created a newsletter which became very popular, and that's how I actually got into journalism from that newsletter. But what it did was really, we did first, second, and third tier instruments, so voice, guitar, flute, whatever people played. Within about a 6 months period, there was an explosion of bands in the Cairns area. And what we could do, it was sort of, I used to call it rent a crowd. So for a hotel, we could bring in about 100 people at a minimum, and also a bit of a buy off a politician. So you had the politicians wanting to throw money at us to get those votes. But that worked extremely well as a complete network. And that's probably where I first got involved with the power of networking. And that was before the internet. Well, actually, it was just at the start of the internet. So around about 97 or so. And that's what got me started a little bit.
Wow, that's incredible. Hey, Kerry, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm here with Kieran, and we're talking about networks, and then we're going to niche and focus more specifically on LinkedIn in a moment. But first, Kieran, Kerry, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in our chat, and we will, in the comments, and then we will be certain to answer those questions for you. Also, if you want to tag some friends and invite them onto the live, that would be awesome. Okay, so Kieran, here's the question, right? So you started a long time ago. Why should people in business care about networks today? Because the reason why we do these Hub Lives is really to share some tips and tricks and mindset around how to grow businesses. Why are networks important for SMEs, micro businesses, or even people who are in corporates? Why should we care?
Well, we will talk about in relation to building your profile and so forth on LinkedIn, but mine's actually connecting industry. It's Kieran Moran, connecting industry. I work within the resource construction industry. Someone I was speaking to probably about 4 months ago actually called me the e-harmony of the resource and construction sector.
What a phenomenal title, eHarmony of the resource industry. Good on you.
I'm not too sure about it, but I do have a laugh about that one. Because why? Because everything really is about creating relationships. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's just the reality of it. So the more networking, the more being able to create those relationships, on both sides for you to know them, but all, and for also them to know you. And it's about being front of mind. And so those networks, I think, and everyone's heard this before, it's extremely important. And you've got to work it as best as you can without being a fool. And so what I mean by that is so it's like, is it Simon Sinek, I think, who the beautiful thing he did on
Start with why?
the TED Talks or whatever. It's not the what, it's the why. So I get people, I've got even tomorrow, a gentleman who's going to speak to me tomorrow. I looked at his LinkedIn profile. He got in contact with me. He said, I'm not really using it. And there's specific reasons why. But in the point of where it's not what you do, it's why you do it, and being able to connect with those people. So again, it comes back to that relationship. So making the connection with other people.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I know this isn't quite where we're going with today's HubLive, but I also know that you do run the LinkedIn local network here in Rocky, and probably, I think you do that in Gladstone as well. And so that's an offline networking opportunity for people to come in and to connect and build those relationships. So I was wondering, just before we talk about LinkedIn, like the online platform, can you give us your top 3 to 5 in-person networking tips? So the what to do as well as the what not to do.
Well, that's always a bit of a game, that one, isn't it? I have to admit that I'm running around so much I think the last Rockhampton one, I actually stopped. I've been meaning to stop and actually have real conversations because I'm running around and not having real conversations. And I have gained business from those events, but I'm sure a lot of people have gained a lot more business than me from those events because I'm running them and I need to speak to everyone. But look, it's again, it comes down to the fundamentals. Like we had one gentleman, a big no. We had one gentleman turn up to one in Gladstone, and he brought, I think he was in telecommunications or communications, and he brought the actual phone. So this phone for officers to use and connect with, and he actually brought, I'm not swearing, it's old school, the bloody phone. And it was just like, what the hell? That's not what to do. You do not sort of sit there and do the hard sales pitch or anything like that. The main thing is, body language is extremely important. If your body language isn't right, and body language says everything. If you go to the psychology of body language, it's quite huge. You can have, we all know the basics, that, or open up your arms or anything like that. But simple smile is sometimes the greatest way. And that's actually one of the things that I really like about Rockhampton LinkedIn is that I found that everybody is extremely welcoming to people that they don't know. And that changes a lot, not just for the people who, and what I mean by changes a lot, it changes a lot for that person who's new, and they're not getting cut off and that's the ring of the same people talking to the same people and creating their little niche clubs in a way. And that's one thing I try to avoid. But my best tip is you just go up and say hello to people and approach them. Second best tip, listen. It is all about listening. Don't talk about yourself too much. Why? Because the point is you need to create a relationship. And so it's like, Elise, Smart Hub's been a sponsor of this. And one of the hard things that's very hard to get by. So part of the LinkedIn local to be able to use that logo, you can see behind me there roughly, is no pitch events. And of course, I have sponsors to these events. Well, how do they pitch their business? It's extremely hard. We had Advanced Rockhampton a while ago, and when young Jesse used to work for them, and he would say, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not going to talk about that. because why? It's about thought leadership. And so the whole point there, my other advice is, you know, we're there for business. What we do is we're of service to other people in a way. We offer solutions to their problems. So in relation to the thought leadership part, I try to encourage sponsors to talk about issues that some of those people may be having problems with on the floor without actually saying, we do this, we do this, we do that, and naming the company 10 times over, because it's more valuable to be thought of someone who's an expert in their field. And we'll talk about that on LinkedIn as well with articles and so forth that you do put up. But, you know, so when you do have those conversations with people, remember to listen, remember to be open, and don't sell. It's not about that in the end. That will naturally happen within any conversation. But predominantly, you know, it's about solving other people's problems. So if you see their issues, offer them a problem. You go a long way. And again, we'll talk about this, but this is like any sales on your website or anything. The more you can actually offer tips rather than like giving away information, as much as sometimes you want to hold that close to you. I can do this for you, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I can do it for you. It's better. You'll get more clients if you're actually going out there offering that solution. You'll be seen as someone who's open, frank, can talk about those sort of situations, and more people will approach you, and to be top of mind. And like videos on websites and so forth, you can write it, you can blog it, but videos are some of the perfect things to be able to offer advice. And the more you do that, the more traction you'll get towards your business.
Okay, I absolutely love what you just said. I'm just going to summarize in my own words to check that I understood it correctly. Okay, so here's your top what not to do tip for LinkedIn or for any kind of networking in real life, probably online as well. What not to do is to make it all about yourself and to make it all about a pitch. So you're not coming to talk about yourself, and you're not coming to actually show and tell and pitch your product or service. What to do, on the other hand, is to come with good open mindset, open body language. And you can go, and there are a number of really good body language books if you need some more information around that. But you mentioned the smile and just having your hands open away from your body. I think that's a really good start. And then you walk up to someone, you introduce yourself with a friendly smile, and you ask questions and you listen. And once you understand that person's problem, which is really what we're trying to get to, not that people have problems. I mean, what are their challenges? What are their greatest opportunity? What are their goals? Once you understand that, then you offer out of your arsenal of what you know, you can offer a potential solution for the challenge that they're experiencing or for achieving their goal. And once you do that, you position yourself as the expert in that person's mind. Then, number one, the relationship's established. Secondly, you've value added to that person. And number three, you've made that person really feel valued and understood. And once you can get that right, that's really the whole point of networking. So it's very different from moving up to someone or coming up to someone and then just talking about yourself and your product and your business all the time. So a very different kind of contrasting picture. And if you're able to be the person who listens and who asks questions, who builds rapport, and who offers great solutions, then you are seen in that person's mind, the other person's mind, as someone who can actually help. That be right?
Yes, exactly. As the slogan is for the LinkedIn local events, take online relationships offline. Key word there, relationships. It's all about building relationships. How do you do that? Shut up now and then. Listen to the people. If they talk too much, well, they're doing it wrong as well. But at the same time, and you know, hopefully that relationship goes beyond just a business relationship, and you can actually create a real friendship. So, and that's even more beneficial to you in the long run.
Okay, so once you've met someone in person, and sometimes this happens the other way around, but once you've met someone in person, then usually what happens in my world is I say, let's connect on LinkedIn. And so that's what we would do, we'll find each other and send a connection request and then have that connection. So let's do the transition now. So once we're connected on LinkedIn, can you talk to us and maybe show us by sharing your screen a little bit about how to build connections on LinkedIn, how to build your own profile for credibility, but also having that nice and open reputation and picture, and then also how can we be seen as thought leaders and experts in our field?
Okay. So one of the things, of course, is exactly what we've just discussed, but then putting that on paper in a way, and that would be your LinkedIn profile. So look, the LinkedIn, as far as I'm concerned, it is like, a lot of people see it as a job application. I've just lost my job. I'll go update my LinkedIn. Now, that was a little bit of fault of LinkedIn when it first sort of came out in relation to the way they promoted the platform. And unfortunately, a lot of people still think of that, but there is around about 800 million people on LinkedIn at the moment. However, when you get down to the crux of the matter, only around about 2% actually use it properly. And LinkedIn is pretty much the best B2B platform, I believe, that's out there at the moment in social media. It is not Facebook. So it needs to be used properly, and you need to be able to introduce yourself properly to people in a way where you're not seen as an idiot. So look, I'll just start off so of course, when you connect to people, there's a number of different ways, and we will talk about that. But one of the simple ways that I do it is you can do it in many different ways. You can send a message to someone to be able to connect with them, or you can just press the button to be able to ask for a connection and you haven't said anything about yourself. One thing that they do on any of those, as soon as and you would have done it yourself, when you've got your own connection and someone's asked you, you've gone and checked out who those people are to make the decision whether you are going to connect with them, whether they're related to the work, whether they're just going to sell you something. And that's the whole key in the end, whether they're going to sell you something. People don't want to be sold at. Again, you've got to create the relationship with them to be able to sell that, to be able to sell them something. And I'm trying to think of the three things, it's making the connections, creating the rapport. I'm trying to think of those 3 sales techniques, whatever they call them these days. It's gone out of my head. But so one of the first areas, so what I mean by conversion and then actually selling and so forth like that. So one of the first things that I work with sometimes with people, and people ask if I charge for this, and I generally don't, because it can be done pretty much within 15 minutes as long as people understand it. So where I first talked about the why, so it's not the what. So it's not what you sell, what you do. Like one of the worst things going up to people, and I think I said it at LinkedIn Local Rockhampton when I went up to someone, I said, "Hello, I'm Kieran." Yeah, and I said, "I hate asking this question. What do you do?" It's like we value ourselves on the jobs that we have, which really, and to say that, you've got some people's LinkedIn profiles, their first things they say is husband, father, and lover, believe it or not. So it's and then they might talk about their job later down the line. So that's actually the key. So I will share my screen a little bit here. As soon as I find where my page is, there we go. Okay. So, as I said before, there's my main name there. So with Kieran Moran, Connecting Industry. So that's generally what I do. So my business itself, and we'll talk about the elevator pitch as well in a way, but sort of my elevator pitch is strategic business communications, engagement and events where I connect you to industry today. Fairly straightforward, fairly quickly. I can get in trouble by the today, but at the same time, it doesn't really worry me too much. But I'm generally known as someone who can connect people together within the resource and construction sector, got a lot of contacts within that area, and that's what I'm sort of getting known for. I have a radio spot in Rockhampton, which gets broadcast all over the region. Do podcasts as it says there as well. And I've got the LinkedIn Local Manager. And there's a reason why I have that LinkedIn Local Manager, because all of a sudden people think that I'm an expert in LinkedIn. Now, I will not, even though I'm saying this, I will not sit there and say that I'm a complete expert. Believe it or not, I'm learning stuff every day. It's all trial and error. But first off, so that's the first thing that people do see. So Kieran Moran, Connecting Industry, Managing Director, Resource Industry Media, LinkedIn Local Manager, Podcaster. I put the podcaster in there because it fitted, but you've got a little bit of room there to actually play with that. So don't put Managing Director. Don't put I have got there, but if you know what I mean, I've put connecting industry. That's what I do. You can have many different varieties, but what they don't see the managing director part. They mainly see the Kieran Moran connecting industry before they go any further. So that's sort of the service that I can bring them, and I connect people. So that's one of the first parts that we sort of work with at first. Now, I'll also go up the top here. If you look at the URL up the top for me, now LinkedIn will automatically create a URL for your LinkedIn page. You can see I've created my own there, Kieran Moran Connecting Industry. That's what I've given to them. So you can do that. It's quite easy. It asks you, it's right there. You can change it right there at any time. And again, it's just giving you a specific URL that's you, basically. One of the worst things is to have linkedin.com /ABQ145376. It just adds a little bit more. And as Elise just said, the color of my shirt, the color of the logo behind me, it's all about branding. I will stand up. It is a hot day. I haven't got everything on. Under here, I've got my shorts and everything like that. So I've just put my shirt on today. But again, this is your brand. That is what you're selling. So that is, again, your brand is the why people should work with you. So if I move down to here, and mind you, this is opened up on my own personal, so please don't hack me. But to the point of, I've only put that first part in there, work within the resource and construction sector for the last decade. That's just straight away, and they're the people that I connect to. So they know straight away that I work within that industry. That's the only reason why. However, I'm passionate about strategic business communication, engagement and events, and connecting you to industry today by implementing cutting-edge strategies and creative original ideas by telling your business story right. And that's what I do. I'm communications, engagement, marketing, and so forth for companies. And I tell their business story right. But you'll notice some key sort of words there. And passionate is one of them. Implementing cutting-edge strategies is another. And I do have more down into my whole write-up. Now, how did I come across that? I don't want to go on too much, but I'll just move it over here. I don't know if you can see that. What does that say? It says you, I think.
It does say you. Yep.
So this is actually, we think we know ourselves, and I really thought I did. And so what this has got in the end is all the different archetypes of people that you sort of know. So, innovation, passion, power, prestige, trust, mystique, alert. And what it does, I read the book and it's got quite a few different sort of personality types or archetypes as they call them. But I ended up, because I bought the book, you could go online and you could take the test. And so I filled out the form, took the test. I thought that I was, what did I think that I was? I thought I was a rock star or something like that. I thought it was coming to. And believe it or not, it came out that I was a trendsetter. And those words are basically cutting edge, progressive, and so forth like that. And what they do, they come out with probably 5 to 6 key sort of words that's your personality. So this is the why. Why should people work with you? That's what you need to get across in your LinkedIn profile. I do end up going a little bit further down and start talking a little bit about the business a tiny bit, but pretty much I don't. You can pretty much get exactly what I sort of do with what I talk about, but of course I can talk about that further within the actual business itself. So I can talk about that further in exactly what the business does. But here I'm talking about me. It is, I cannot emphasize this enough, it is the why. I've got 10 people all doing the same job in front of me, all offering me their services. Should I care? Really? So which one am I going to connect with? Which one, you know, we all look at people, facial expressions, we all look at people and we're all actually, you know, we think that that person might be an idiot or that person might be smart just by their features. Unfortunately, it's the way human beings are. And people miss out on stuff because they might be extremely intelligent, but that person thinks you're an idiot. And just from the look of your face, and I'm sure somebody might be saying that to me right now, so thank you. But to that point, so again, it's why you're working with them. Now, I'll just also bring up this a little bit. So your profile picture, and as I just discussed with your profile picture a little bit, you know, your profile picture and background image is very important. So, you know, it starts with your profile photo. It needs to be current and reflective. Now, look, I'm a little bit, that's about 10 years old, that photo. As much as my hair looks black, it's actually quite grey. But at the same time, so I need to sort of maybe update that to create a real image. I think it's one of my best, sexiest photos. That's my opinion. But at the same time, you need a professional photo. It goes a long way. People, they really do judge on these sort of stuff. And as you can see with the back image and so forth, I work in the resource and construction sector. So as it said there, don't have the blue image that you had. Don't have something that doesn't relate to what you do. You know, portray an image of trust and being the go-to person your prospects would go to. The background photo, you know, are you currently using the standard blue background, or do you have a fireplace that maintains the background? Take advantage of that real estate. And that's the key sort of market there, is being able to take advantage of that real estate. Some of the second best steps there, I'll skip through, but create a headline that captures your ideal prospect's attention. Now, that is my connecting industry. So that's exactly what that is. And you can play with it as much as you like. You've got a bit of space there. But remember, most people look on the phone. So only so much comes up across the main part. Look, there's a LinkedIn message there. I get them constantly. But to the point of, you know, again, it's sort of advertising exactly and why people should work with you. You know, I could go through a little bit of this, but people can read it as I'm talking there. And again, you know, as it says there, it's a shortened elevator pitch. And that's sort of one of the keys, is a short elevated pitch. And again, as I said, my elevator pitch is basically strategic business communication and engagement events and connecting you to industry today. So my short one is connecting industry. If I go back to just my first little words, it's not there, but if I go to my business, so if I go to my business, it's again, the same applies to your own business as well, to what you do. So those words there, resource industry meetings, passionate about connecting you to industry today. Now, I think they only give you 120 caps or so in that thingo, so you've got to try to fit it in. But yeah, I'm passionate about connecting people to industry. It says it sort of straight away what I do. I've got the, of course, you've got public relations and communications. I really don't like that, but it's the closest that I could get, because I do that, but at the same time, I do more. But again, this is why should people do business with you? It's like a lot of people will say advertising, like advertising on LinkedIn, it's a difficult one. If you've got a lot of money, it can work for you, but it costs a bit of money to use LinkedIn to advertise. My recommendation in a lot of respects for my clients is not to, because it does take quite a bit of money to really get the proper impact with it. And again, some of the advice, of course, Facebook does slightly work, but Google Ads and Google, there's another one there as well, work extremely well, but we're not getting into that now. Is there any questions there? Because if I do talk, I do apologise.
You're doing a really great job. I love how you're just taking us through the profile. I don't think we have any questions. I'm just checking the chat. No, we don't have any questions at this time. But thank you very much for joining us today on our Hub Live. We're here with Kieran Moran, and he's taking us through how to make the best out of our LinkedIn profiles and then how to build connections on the back of these profiles. And so earlier we spoke about how to do offline networking. If you've come in late to our Hub Live, you can always catch it later. It will be saved to our Facebook page. So how to do amazing offline, like in-person networking. And now we're just touching on our actual profiles. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to put those in the comments and we'll be sure to get Kieran to answer them for you. You're doing good, Kieran. Keep going.
Okay. Anybody knows me knows I'm a talker. Again, that's my business, communicating. And sometimes I do need to shut up myself on many different areas. It's one thing I always say to myself when I'm talking half the time is shut up. Again, listen. That's what it's all about.
Listen.
So we move on to sort of the basic sort of steps again. So, you know, the more content you include in your profile, the better your chances of being discovered. Each job you have listed should include a strategic summary of responsibilities and accomplishments. So I'll just go back to my own personal page. Now, people do make this mistake quite a lot, especially like with the about. Sometimes it'll be 2 lines. Sometimes it might be dot form. No, it can work, but again, it's the why people should work with you. So you know, I've seen 1 line. And again, it goes back to that professionality. And so as you can see, I could fill up a lot more. It's slightly succinct. You know, I could do better, I could do worse, but at the same time, you have levels on LinkedIn from beginner, your profile is a beginner profile, to an all-star. Now, not that I'll trust an algorithm. I think it's, I can't see, but I think I'm rated as an all-star. I don't get a big head about that. I'm sure it means nothing as well.
What does that mean? What does that mean if you do get that all-star status?
Well, it means that you're actually filling out the information as best as you can within your profile. You're not leaving things blank. You're actually using it to the best of the ability that it can be used. And so, as I was just saying there, so I just led on to that. But as it says here, you know, use relevant job descriptions, key buzzwords that are trending in your industry. So again, that is where I'll go back. So again, so when I go to my business profile, and I took out the LinkedIn Local actually a little while ago, probably about a month ago, LinkedIn Local Manager. I more wanted my clients to sort of see, potential clients to sort of see some of the work that I've done. But again, some people will have this profile and of what they sort of do. And again, it'll be dot points. It might be a sentence or 2. So again, it's sort of, you know, explaining again why people should work with you, but this does get a little bit more into where and what you've done and how you can help that client. That's generally where a lot of that moves to within this profile. Now, it is very important as you do move down, as it says here, use relevant job descriptions, key buzzwords that are trending in your industry. So, of course, my industry is communications. I used to work for the Gladstone Engineering Alliance. I used to be Chief of Staff for News Corp, Fairfax Media as well. I used to be a journalist. You know, the days when we used to have newspapers, I suppose, in that respect. Worked for the department, Gladstone Ports Corporation here and so forth like that. But I give pretty much a fair description on what I have done within those organisations. So as a lot of people say to me when they do have a look at it, you've got a lot of experience there. It's one of the first things that a lot of people talk about.
Right.
I thought you wanted to
okay. So I have a couple of questions. Firstly, let me just say hello to Bronwyn and to Sharon. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a quick question from Sharon. So who was the author of that book that you were referring to? That was the title of you on the book that you held up earlier, that you have all those archetypes.
Sally Hogshead, Hogshead. And the book is called How the World Sees You.
How the World Sees You, Sally Hogshead. I'm sure that we'll put that also in the comments so that you can access that easily, Sharon. Thank you. If you have any other questions, feel free, just pop them in the comments and we'll get back to you. So it's obvious to me that you're almost using LinkedIn as a bit of a resume, aren't you? It's like an extended resume where you're talking about why people should work with you, and then you're showcasing your experience to build that credibility.
Yes, generally. And while we're talking about Michael Bunyé Stanger, that's a great book for anybody who's out there as well. The Coaching Habit, Michael Bunyé Stanger. He's in, so that's Michael Bunyaystanger. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever. It's a great sales book. The 5 questions you need to ask so you don't actually talk forever when you're trying to create a sale. But anyway, that's part of my, he's a great guy and he's Australian as well, but lives in Canada, very well known. Where was I moving to? So I'm realising some of the time here that we've got. Now, as it says here, so one of the things that I do that I connect with people, one of the things that works, so I've got roughly, how much have I got roughly? Not that this means anything at all, but I do have approximately, I've got about 12,000 people on my side for me. That grows, that one that just buzzed while I was here or whatever, those are 2 other people that are just wanting to connect with me today. I probably had 5 or 6 more this morning. And if I go to my business as well, you'll notice in my business, I've got about 2,381 followers. Now, you've got some big companies out there that haven't got that amount of followers. Followers can be, a difficult thing. Don't forget, as much as I've got these moving people around on my screen, I can invite connections every day. I've got about 100 a month that I can invite people to follow my business. That sometimes does come with premium. So I do spend about $69 a month on LinkedIn. We'll talk about Sales Navigator in a second on LinkedIn as well. But I don't actually use Sales Navigator too much. I'm a one-man show. My problem at the moment in business is having the capacity. I'm turning down more work than not at the moment. And so I'm not really trying to chase too much at this time. But you might say that's lucky. I wish people were paying me more, but at the same time, it's only what I can do. So how do I do that? How do I get these people following me and so forth? Look, you can do it in many different ways. And again, it depends on the level that you do pay on your LinkedIn. If you are just doing it for free, you're only allowed to do so much. I pay for premium, so I can send off probably around about 100 connections a day. But this is some of my advice of how to do it. When you're sitting in front of the TV, get premium or get your level up a little bit on LinkedIn. When you're sitting in front of the TV at night, scrolling through, type in, that's the beauty of this, and depending on your level as well, and that's Sales Navigator. So I will type in engineers, because that's the sector that I work in. Construction, I'll type in construction. I'll type in construction Rockhampton. Everybody in Rockhampton for LinkedIn Local. How do I get them? I just type in Rockhampton. You're in business, I'll connect to try and get you to a LinkedIn event. And that's how they grew fairly quickly and straight away within that respect. I actually don't even send them a message. I have tried it before. Hi, I'm Kieran. I work within the construction resource sector, the same industry as yourself. It'll be great if we connect. Now, that's some of the basic stuff. I actually find that doesn't work that well. I've actually, if you've got a good profile and everything like that, I just press the button, connect to those people that are in my industry. And I seem to get more connections that way. But here's the key. Don't connect with people and leave it there. Every morning, I spend probably 2.5 hours from 6:30 to 9 a.m. on social media, the vein of my existence. I've got about 3 companies that I do their social media for, and I've got my own. And then I've got LinkedIn Local as well. So LinkedIn Local Rockhampton, LinkedIn Local Gladstone, Resource Industry Media, Kieran Moran, blah, 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 blah. But to that point, I will then send a responding message for them. Thank you for connecting. Now, within that message, this is what I believe is part of the key. I'm telling them who I am. Hey, I'm Kieran. Thanks for connecting. You would have noticed from my profile, because I've already looked, you would have noticed from profile, I'm the Managing Director of Resource Industry Media, a strategic business communications, engagement and events company. But then I offer them something. And that paying offer is, well, one thing I do say is if you're ever interested in business collaborations, or because everything's about business collaborations these days, I've got 10 or so 15 contracts of small business collaborations. They're worth a lot of money when you add them all up. But to the point of if you're interested in any business collaborations or you need any connections in the region, let me know and I'll see where I can assist you. So I'm offering something for free. You know how many people call me up probably per week just with that message? I would get phone calls, probably up to 3 to 4 phone calls a week from those LinkedIn messages. Now, one thing I've had to learn quite strongly.
So do you add your phone number? Do you add your phone number in the message?
Yep, email, everything. That's actually a good point. When you say that, that's actually a good point. So a lot of people, I understand why. So I'll go to my contact information. So a lot of people will put their Hotmail. If you're in business, don't put your Hotmail. And I understand why a lot of people do that, because, I could get an email offering me a job and it goes through the work email. Yeah, I understand that. However, exact contacts, I'm in business. I want people to know who the hell I am. I want them to be able to contact me as much as possible. So it's all there. I hate giving my information away. I'm a pretty private person, but at the same time, I've got my birthday. Oh, what the hell? But to that point, I give that information. And so, I've just got my email signature that I send with that message.
Nice.
And
which has all of the information.
I do it within 24 hours. So and so what I mean by that is, when I first got into business, that's how I got my first business, was pretty much through LinkedIn. So I set up my website, set up the Facebook pages, set up the link pages, everything that you have to do now. That's another point, is all this, the branding, everything needs to run across Facebook, LinkedIn, your website. It's all the same branding. Now that's
all need to be extremely consistent.
It's all about, and that's when I work with a lot of companies to make sure that that's sort of going across the way it should be. But just from those connections, just from that messaging, just from doing that, 85% of my business comes through LinkedIn. 85% of my business. If I didn't have LinkedIn, I would probably be out of business. But the beauty of that is, I don't make one phone call. I've only been in business since August last year in Resource Industry Media, in my own business. I've had a couple other things over the years, failed here and there, got out, got married, blah, blah, blah. But to the point of where the beauty of LinkedIn, if you use it properly, the old school where we used to pick up the yellow pages, really old school, to numerous of other things and what we used to use, it's a B2B platform that if you use it properly, respectfully as well, don't spam, you will get work out of it. It's following up. And then when those people ring, and it's one thing I've had to learn, when those people ring, I've got to learn to shut up, understand their problem, and be able to provide them with a solution, and fairly quick. And that's some of those sales techniques that, it's like one of the first things I do is the appointment in a way. People are ringing me up and I might be available, but sometimes I'll say, hey, look, love to speak to you. I'm very interested in talking to you. I want to work with you. I've just got to go to this meeting. Could we arrange an appointment tomorrow, please? Or the next day? what that does is allow me to, because I've already had a quick conversation with them about who they are, what they're doing, what they want. I then go and look at their LinkedIn and stalk them a little bit, find out their website, look at their business, try to figure out some of those solutions, listen. And that's the beauty of that other book that I showed you, The Coaching Habit. It actually tells you how to ask those 5 specific questions that get all that information out there. It gets it all out there. And believe it or not, one of those questions is there anything else? Because most people don't tell you first off exactly what their problem is. They'll skirt around it.
Don't you want to tell us what the 5 questions are? Give us the 5 questions.
Oh, gee, I've got to. Okay, there's a kickstart question. What's on your mind? So you're sitting down with someone. Hey, how you going? Good. What's on your mind? You know, simple as that. The or question of what I just said. What else? And what else, basically, because most people will not say the exact problem. So and this is actually beautiful questions for an employer to an employee as well when they have issues at work. It's actually very good for that as well. The focus question, what's the real challenge here for you? And the for you is a very important part. So not what's the real challenge for you. So they can't get something done themselves. They have the issue. They mightn't have the right employee. They might, if it's an employee, well, what's their challenge? What do you need to implement to help them to be able to get their job? The foundation question, the 4th one, is what do you want? So really, so you're going from what's the real challenge here for you? Well, what do you want? What do you want to actually achieve out of this? What do you want? And it's funny, the answers you get is quite amazing when you actually follow this. But I've done it specifically just to see what the hell happens with people, and it really works. You can cut it off around about there if you wanted to, but you can go into the lazy question, which how can I help? So you've gone, what do you want? Well, okay, then, well, how can I help? So you've pretty much in that, you've figured out, they've told you what the problem is, you're already working, but the reason why this book is actually good is because there's one big problem we all make. We don't listen and we think we've got their solution. And it's just untrue. It's just not. Before people go to meetings, oh yeah, I know what this is about. Yeah, I've got a solution. And you don't. So this is the whole point of these questions, because 85%, 90% of people think that they've got the answer, but they just don't. And it's really about that listening as we started this conversation. The last 2 questions is a strategic question. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? So that sort of thing over there, they think they might have a solution themselves, or they're doing it this way, or they're doing it that way. But like I said, you can stop actually at question 5. And the last question is a learning question. And this is more for employees. What was most useful for you? But it does work in sales as well. What is most useful for you out of that conversation that we just had? And again, it actually goes in a full circle, those sort of questions.
Thank you for sharing those questions. Hey, Rosalie, thank you so much for joining us. I'm here with Kieran Moran from LinkedIn Local. Here we're talking all things networking, both online and offline, and how he uses LinkedIn and how you can use LinkedIn to build your networks and to build and grow your business. Now, Kieran, I like what you just said. I think you alerted us to something that's really important. You said you actually, I'm paraphrasing, you ran an experiment and you ask these questions exactly to see what would happen. And I think what you've come up with is that people are going to tell you something entirely different to what you thought that they were going to say. So people are different, and their motivations, their thoughts, their feelings, their ideas are often so different to what we think they're going to be, even people we know really well. And so a really good tip is to go into every conversation with curiosity, as opposed to that attitude of, I know this. And just go, let's go find out what it is to know, instead of going, I actually know everything.
Yeah, and then the best is to walk away after that and not offer them a solution right then and there. And that's where I started off with, one of the first things I do, even though I might not be busy, the clients on the phone mainly, I will say, look, I'm just got another meeting to go to. I'd love to talk more. Could we book an appointment? Now, the beauty of that is you then can consider more. You can then actually prepare to speak to them more with that appointment. But also, one of the techniques that a lot of people do as well is you can send them the package about who you are in that process. And by mail is actually one of the keys, not by email. But it's all that preparation. And then there's another 7 or so steps before that, before you get to the conversion in a way. And again, you can mix and match as it goes. And I haven't got them in my head. And I've got to get better at them myself. I'm not the greatest at them. I forget them, skip them. And I go to a meeting thinking, yeah, I know what he wants. Not a problem. But what I've learned is that's the biggest mistake I've ever made. Hence why I started looking at this not just this book. He does a podcast as well. With leaders from all over the world and so forth. And it's extremely well. And you know, one of the things I do every morning, I actually follow we're going out of LinkedIn here, but at least you would know, being in business, I've got my wife works at the other end of the house. I work at this end of the house. Besides a little bit of sexual harassment and so forth, maybe during the day, to the point of it can get lonely. I've got no one here to push me up. I was doing a conference in New South Wales. That was in a week and a half, a fairly big conference. Lo and behold, New South Wales energy policy changed 2 weeks ago. 2 projects had to pull out. So I've now moved the date to February, taking the pressure off me, which is nice. But at the same time, a lot of work to do with that. But, you know, I haven't got people to bounce off quite a lot. I do have a business partner, but I haven't got people to bounce off and everything like that. And so every day I have to motivate myself. So I'll try to do, you know, get your endorphins going through gym in the morning, and then I'll come back, I'll have a coffee, and then I'll actually listen to a positive business podcast. And it's not exactly positive, but again, work on the mindset. As Robin Sharma is the bloke that I listen to. He's a Canadian, but he talks about, I know people laugh at this, but mindset, heart set, health set, and I forgot the other one, but anyway, so to try and get myself in the right place when I'm not sure what I'm doing, where I'm going, and it will just motivate me to think that, you know, you make mistakes, learn from it, move on, take the chance. It's all about the opportunity and taking the chance. And again, that is stuff to actually even put in your LinkedIn. It's what inspires people. What inspires people to work with you? Before we go, I suppose to the point of Sales Navigator on LinkedIn as well. It costs a little bit more.
Can I, Kieran, I'm going to interrupt the Sales Navigator. I'm going to come back to this. I just want to ask the question that Sharon has asked online, if that's okay, just before we move on. So you mentioned before that you have these consults or you make appointments. So people contact you via LinkedIn. So you you send a connection, you send a message 24 hours later. Quite often they'll call you or they'll message or email you back, and then you'll have a conversation where you ask questions. Then the next step is you will send them an actual in the mail package about who you are, and also schedule a follow-up appointment, right? That's more or less your process. And that's, so Sharon's question is, do you get paid for these consults?
They're the consults with the potential client?
Yes. So no, they're
not.
part of your sales process, aren't they?
Yeah. It's again because as we started this conversation with LinkedIn local events, and you asked in relation to what not and what to do, and one of the first things I said was listen and try to shut up. When I first started doing this, I wanted work. Get me work. I got no money coming in. Bloody hell, I need work. You can't put that across to people. They're desperate. I'm desperate for work. Give me work. So what I found was that I talked too much. Tried to sell my business too much. Tried to sell my services too much. The appointment, the first thing in the appointment, as I like to call it, I think on the Big Bang Theory, they sort of call it the zone. But anyway, to the point of it allows me to stop. It allows me then to, because they will tell me pretty much straight up some of what their issues are. So I've gathered that information. That's great. That first 2-3 minutes, I've gathered that information. Then I'll book an appointment with them. That then allows me to take in what they've said, go have a look at their business, a look at them on LinkedIn. and then I'll come up with a little bit of a strategy, and then I'll create that document. So I love Canva. I create all sorts of documents on Canva daily. Today I created brand new sponsorship packages. Beauty is it takes 5 minutes. It's fantastic when you're using those sort of formats these days. Hats off to the lady who created that, one of the richest people in the country now. But and that's actually specifically nearly tailored in relation to their business and the skills that I have that relate to their business to be able to get them there. So then they do receive that. And a lot of them appreciate that. So, okay, this conference, and this is the main thing. So LinkedIn's LinkedIn, but that's the beauty of LinkedIn local events is, as the slogan says, take your online relationships offline. So currently at the conference that I'm doing that we had to move back, I always say move forward, but it's moved back to February, I suppose, to that point is, so we've got roughly about 120 tickets sold now. The last 3 days, I've rang every single one of them. Personally, I rang every single one of them, explained to them why we have moved that conference back. And you know how much they appreciate that? Just itself. So when they bought a ticket, I would send a personal email to them from me, thanking them to buy a ticket, plus also chucking a social media post. Hey, if you want to spread it out there and let other people know, please do. That it's coming. You know, that sort of stuff, of course. But the personal touch is key. So when I do send that to people from that appointment, before I have that first appointment with them, they actually appreciate it, and it gives them, and and that's what it's about. It's about being front of mind with people. And so again, it's a way to use LinkedIn. It's you know, don't spam. It's more of a personal thing to be able to connect with people. Hence the Connecting Industry, the part that I've got. The conference I'm doing is called Connecting Industry Conference. I do Connecting Industry CQ with Michael Bailey on Monday mornings. You know, so there's the brand. Even though I'm Resource Industry Media, my other business is Connecting Industry. You can't steal it. I've already taken it, so bad luck. But to that point of everything, and look, I get it wrong. So, you know, don't get me, you know, that I'm a guru at any of this sort of stuff. But what I see mainly, it's being able to connect with someone that allows you to be able to work with them. And when you give a little bit of that personal touch, so it's like we're at Christmas. Every client, personal Christmas card, not generic, personal, handwritten. You know how much they appreciate that sort of stuff? It's not funny. It keeps you front of mind. We've all heard it before, but it actually works. And a letter, besides an email, sometimes works. I recommended that to one business, and they did that, didn't work. So we took a different approach after that. That was only because people were too busy to read it, probably. But at the same time, that personal touch that's a little bit different to everybody else makes them stand out. And that's the key across all platforms.
Wonderful. Mr. Kieran Moran, we've filled an entire hour so far. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to pause here. We're probably, if you are up for it, we would love to have you back to talk about Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. Is that okay?
That's
Maybe
fine,
schedule another HubLive with you in the early 2021. But you have shared so much valuable information with us, so many tips and tricks. And I feel like so much of that was about building human relationships, about honing sales skills, and about using LinkedIn really effectively. You've been phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing so openly. Really appreciate your contribution. Do you have any quick final words?
I think you just said it then as we started this in relation to it is all about relationships, everything, no matter what. So, you know, take offline relationship or online relationships offline. And hence the connection. It's about making connections, creating relationships. We're still human beings, and fundamentally, that's life.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for joining us for today's HubLive. If you want to connect with Kieran, you know where to find him on LinkedIn, Kieran Moran, and you can see his information, also his name and the spelling of his last name in our marketing for today's HubLive. So please feel free to reach out to Kieran if you have any questions. Thank you. Yes, last thing.
LinkedIn Local Rockhampton, February 11th, Hedricks Lane.
February 11th. I'll certainly be there, and I look forward to seeing you there as well. Just put that in your diary even now. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Thursday for our next Hub Live. Bye-bye.